Hello and welcome to the first review of the Klein trilogy. Klein has already appeared in a Big Finish story called Cold It. I'll go into more detail whether you need to have listened to Cold It before you look at the Klein trilogy itself. But I will say you will need to you can't cherry pick this trilogy. You have to get all three stories in order, so from 1,000 Tiny Wings, Survival of the Fittest and The Architects of History. And over the next 3 videos I will be looking at this trilogy, and in Architects of History I will be ranking them from my least favourite to my favourite Klein story, what I've listened to so far. So without further ado, let's look at the cover. So for the cover we have the Doctor there, then we have Klein, then we have the farmhouse where this story is set, we have a feather and the ground of course. I will say, and also we have the jungle there, and I will say but this cover is rather simplistic and it works brilliantly because it doesn't give too much away about the story, and it's definitely an intriguing cover. So with Doctor Who there, Sylvester McCoy, 1,000 Tiny Wings by Andy Lane. Then we have Sylvester McCoy's sort of vortex and his head there. Audio Adventures of Doctor Who. On the side we have Doctor Who, Sylvester McCoy there, 1,000 Tiny Wings, 130. And on the back we have what the story is about, so do feel free to pause and know more about it. Then we have the cast members there, and the total running time for this story is 120 minutes. So that's the way this audio is presented. Now let's look at the booklet. Here is the booklet, so if we open it up we have behind the scenes there with the cast members. Then we have a bonus little feature of the 3 companions, part 10 I think, part 11. Then we have writer's notes and director's notes, well, producer's notes. Then we have the lovely concept art there with the characters within the story. Then we have 1,000 Tiny Wings. Then we have the next episode, the second instalment in the Klein trilogy. Then we have advertisement for other things, or the Doctor Who magazine there. And then we have a little bit of bio on Elizabeth Klein and the 7th Doctor. The disc art is exactly the same for disc 1 and 2, if I just move this. Then we have advertisement for other 7th Doctor adventures. So my thoughts on 1,000 Tiny Wings. 1,000 Tiny Wings is a cracking start to the Klein trilogy, with it being very suspenseful and threats are everywhere, making this story feel very much like a Patrick Troughton story, because it is very much sort of base under siege, and has infection rolled into it as well, much like the Moon Base. So it's sort of a moon base sort of story, so if you like the Moon Base, then this is going to be quite a good story. And obviously it's not on the moon, it's in Kenya in the 50s, with the base being a farmhouse, which is quite interesting. Performance wise, best performer has to be Sylvester McCoy. He is outstanding in this story. I mean, the dialogue he has between Klein, that is definitely interesting when he first encounters Klein again. With him having some great dialogue between Tracy Child's Klein character, with some bits of dialogue where McCoy is sort of antagonising Klein, and that is just beautiful. And I think the beauty of listening to the Klein stories in order is that you get to see this sort of chemistry evolve, which is, I think, is natural, and it's great to see how the characters, you know, hate each other to begin with, but as the trilogy progresses, they don't really like each other, but they deal with each other. It's great. They tolerate each other. But my favourite guest character is Anne Bell, who is a great character with, as the story has very sort of a mysterious character, but as the story progresses, her character starts to peel, and you get to see all the layers of her character, and she starts off quite a sympathetic, sort of motherly type person, but then towards the end she goes quite in a disturbing direction. Concluding thoughts, this is a pleasure to listen to, with being a beautifully characterised script, and has a really great atmosphere, with you not knowing if the Mau Mau will attack. Now the Mau Mau are a African tribe, and this story is set in the 50s, and I think from the general idea of the story, well, at the time, the Mau Mau were trying to get rid of white people from Africa. I think, I'm not sure if Africa was still under the British colony empire thing, I don't know. But if you know, comment down below, because it'd be quite interesting to find out. Obviously there is more tribes than the Mau Mau. Anyway, I'm digressing. And with you not knowing if the Mau Mau are going to attack, it creates this sort of paranoia, and the characters become quite paranoid, you know, when the Mau Mau are going to come, because, you know, they've heard that they are on their way towards the farmhouse. But they're not the main threat. There's a nice little alien subplot, and the aliens themselves are more closer than you think. The cover might give it away, but I'm not going to give any detail to that plot. There are a few there is one gruesome death. I think it's part 2's cliffhanger, and it follows into part 3, which is quite a gruesome death, and you don't want to be touched by them because it causes infection, and it's definitely quite a creepy story in that sense. Overall, it's a fantastic story with great cast members, wonderful direction by Lisa Bauman, who gives it this atmospheric and quite disturbing feel to it, and suspenseful feel, which is great, and a superb script by Andy Lane. So yeah, I'm not going to give a rating for this, because my ratings are going to be in Architects of History, where I will rate the Klein trilogy as a whole and the stories individually. So I want to keep that as a bit of a surprise. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this review. My next review will be obviously Survival of the Fittest. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video.